In the next portion of this presentation, we'll cover the how-to of preventing individual development project impacts. The first step is to identify likely impacts and an equitable solution for each. An equitable solution is one which resolves your concerns while allowing the applicant to get most of what they want. Next, negotiations are opened with the applicant, review agencies, and others who have the authority to implement your equitable solution. All of these folks are known as decision makers. If the applicant and others resist, then the political process is used to increase negotiating leverage. Simultaneously, one takes steps to ensure that a project is not approved until all impacts have been resolved. There's a popular misperception that it's easy to kill a development project or that it's the only option available. Neither myth is true. Only 5 to 10% of efforts to kill a project succeed, and half the killed projects come back zombie-like a few years later when citizens are drained of money and energy. But the attempt to kill a project cost at least $20,000 and as much as $50,000 or more. In the end, citizens usually get very little for all this money. The most positive likely outcome is a negotiated settlement where a project is modified to reduce impacts while allowing the applicant to achieve their goals. With the equitable solutions approach, citizens resolve concerns most of the time for little or no cost. Generally, you don't need an attorney or expert witnesses, but it does require access to technical and political expertise. The next few slides provide a quick outline of equitable solutions and the companion approach of smart legal strategies. After having helped citizens throughout the U.S. with thousands of development proposals, we've learned that the vast majority of impacts can be resolved. Here you see an example from another of our cases where we want a 4-fold increase in the buffer separating these homes from this assisted care facility. Impacts can frequently be designed away just like this while allowing the applicant to achieve their goals. This is the basis for our equitable solutions approach. The biggest difference between our approach and kill the project is that the negotiated settlement happens before the big expensive hearing, not after. More importantly, victory with equitable solutions is far, far more likely. Citizens tend to have the advantage in a political arena, while the applicants can outgun us when it comes to lawyers and expert witnesses. This is why I urge you to focus on demonstrating widespread public support for your equitable solutions, just as Protector of Poolsville did with their community meetings and other actions. By mobilizing public support, you create the leverage needed to get the applicant and others to negotiate in good faith. When litigation is necessary, our smart legal strategies approach greatly increases the likelihood of a successful outcome. The first objective of smart legal strategies is to protect your right to appeal a decision to approve a project before your concerns are fully resolved. But it's much more than that. With most kill the project efforts, citizens hire an attorney who seeks to block the first permit up for a hearing. Most projects require multiple permits. The permit which most directly relates to your concerns and which is easiest to nix may not be the next one up for a hearing. A key component of smart legal strategies is a quick, thorough review of decision-making history and other factors to identify the permit giving you the best chance of success. So that's the outline. Let's go back now to where most development-related concerns begin. I get a couple of dozen calls and emails a week from folks all over the country who have just seen a sign like this one go up next to their home. They usually have a list of concerns about how the project will impact their quality of life. These concerns are frequently based on a small amount of information, along with quite a bit of imagination. The first step I urge is to look at plans to verify that the concerns are real. To do this, use the contact information on the sign to make arrangements to view project plans. With the plans in front of you, use our 4-page checklist on the left to help you assess how a proposed development project may impact your quality of life. The checklist can be downloaded by going to our main web page and clicking the Publications button. Once you've identified potential impacts, the next step can be the most challenging: finding an equitable solution. For each impact, there are a number of possible solutions, and each solution will vary in effectiveness and ease of implementation. The ideal solution fully resolves impacts and can be implemented without costing the applicant too much pain or by exceeding the willingness of regulatory agencies to exact pain. In the case of this assisted living facility, adjoining homeowners got a much deeper forest buffer. This success was made possible because the community supported the applicant's request to exceed normal height limits. The taller building had a smaller footprint. With less ground taken up by the building, the buffer could be much deeper. Here's an example of how to find a good, equitable solution. This is one of our current cases. It involves a proposed 30-lot residential project. Our clients live on Fulton Estates Court, a very quiet dead-end street, also known as a cul-de-sac. The applicant has proposed a connection with Nicolar Drive, which is a dead-end street off of Fulton Estates Court. Here's the plan for the proposed development project. The red circle marks the point where Nicolar Drive would be extended into the 30-lot project. A second access point is proposed off of Lime Kiln Road. This will be the main access into the project. Those who live on Fulton Estates Court are concerned about increased traffic if the proposed development project is connected to Nicolar Drive. They quite rightly fear for the safety of their children, who frequently play on their very quiet street. However, police, fire, ambulance, and other emergency services agencies want at least 2 ways of reaching the homes located in proposed development projects. This was why the project plan showed the main access off of Lime Kiln Road and the proposed second access by the extension of Nicolar Drive. So how do you accommodate the important need for a second means of access without increasing Fulton Estates Court traffic volume? 3 possible solutions are pictured on the right. All 3 will be implemented at the point where Nicolar Drive would be extended. The slow children at play sign is very ineffective. It may slow vehicles for a few weeks after drivers first see it, then the effect will diminish. A speed hump placed across Nicolar Drive will slow traffic. It also encourages drivers to use the main access, making it moderately effective. The third and most effective option is to place a gate across Nicolar Drive, which can only be opened by police and other emergency services personnel. However, the gate can also be the most difficult option to achieve. You may be wondering how you go about finding equitable solutions. Well, assuming you don't have a traffic engineer in your neighborhood, here are a few places to start specific to the traffic issue we just discussed. First, check out one of the many CEDS web pages like this one here that provides solutions to many traffic issues. But please don't stop here. Also talk with fire department professionals, as well as transportation officials and a local public works or planning agency. You can also try traffic experts on the faculty of universities in your state. These are all free sources of advice. Then there are traffic consultants, but most will balk at helping citizens with development concerns, or they'll charge you an arm and a leg. Once you have a good solution, formally ask the applicant to consider it. Make it clear that you are open to other solutions, provided they are equally effective in resolving your concerns. Do not threaten. Strive for a tone that clearly demonstrates your desire to find a solution that works for you and the applicant. This should always be done by letter or email. This written record proves that you sought to work cooperatively with the applicant. As you'll see in a bit, this record can be crucial to success. Once you and the applicant agree on a solution, it's critical to lock in success. Many applicants take a project through the permitting process, then another party, such as a national builder, steps in. So the agreement with the applicant must bind on all future property owners. We suggest two steps. First, execute a legally binding agreement that applies to current and future property owners. You'll need your own attorney to make certain the agreement is solid, but you can ask the applicant to reimburse you for this expense, which they frequently do. The second step is to have the applicant submit a revised plan showing the solution. An example of such a plan is on the right. The dark area is a forest buffer added to this plan, separating these homes from the shopping center that's proposed for this area. The buffer was negotiated with the shopping center owner. To lock in this solution, the buffer must be made a condition of all permits and other approvals that are granted for this project. So what do you do when the applicant fails to agree to your preferred solution and fails to suggest another equally effective option? Well, it's time to discuss the issue with planning, zoning, or other agency staff. Ask the opinion of staff regarding your preferred solution. If staff points out a legitimate problem with the solution, then ask a question like, well, if you live where I do, what changes would have resolved your concerns about the project? If you and staff reach consensus on a solution, then ask if they can require the applicant to implement it. If you get the sense they lack the necessary authority, then try going to the agency director. If you can't resolve your concerns at the agency level, then it's time to initiate political action. Begin by reaching out to a local elected official. Even if the official does not have direct power of development, they can frequently get those with the necessary power to act. Begin with the official who represents your area or has a reputation for being the most responsive to citizen concerns. Start your meeting with the elected official by describing your efforts to work cooperatively with the applicant. Show the official your letter to the applicant in which you tried to establish a cooperative relationship. If staff or others felt your solution was reasonable, then mention that as well. Ask the elected official if they would speak with the applicant or an agency director about implementing the solution. If the elected official says current law does not allow government to require implementation of your preferred solution, then ask if they would sponsor a bill to change the law. The bill must be worded in a way so the project of concern does not reach the grandfathering stage before the law takes effect. The key to victory from this point on is to demonstrate that you are not going away and that the future holds but one thing: ever more voters viewing the elected official as a bad guy for not taking the action you've requested. But couch this message with something like, we know Commissioner Smith wants to do the right thing, so let's give her the public support she needs. One of the best first ways to make this demonstration is to hold your own community meeting, as Protect Our Poolsville did. Occasionally, the number of folks directly impacted by a project is not enough to carry the day. The solution, then, is to enlist the support of those who may one day be threatened by the same issue. The black arrow in the center points to Fulton Estates Court. The red circles you see show the location of other streets in the area, which are also dead ends. Note that in just the immediate area, there are 29 other dead-end streets, each of which could be proposed for extension one day, just as happened with Nicolar Drive. If the support of Fulton Estate Court's residents is not enough to win the campaign, then begin reaching out to others likely to see themselves as potential victims. Many of those residing on the other 29 dead-end streets pictured here would actively support an action that prevents an extension of their street and yours. If a greater show of support is needed, then many other tactics are available. Here we see a letter signed by major citizen groups representing people who live throughout a county. This letter urged a key decision maker to improve compliance with a critical clean water law. The letter was a crucial tactic that tripled compliance over the next year. As you succeed in increasing the number of voters and groups supporting your effort, you'll cross the threshold known only to the applicant or some other decision maker. Reaching this threshold prompts the decision maker to find a graceful way to take the action you've advocated. The only thing that comes close to a guarantee of success is to continue to seek new ways to expand your base of support without backing decision makers into an impossible corner. Now that we've covered equitable solutions, we'll move on to a few slides about smart legal strategies. Sometimes there's no choice but to begin suiting up for a hearing. You can greatly increase the probability of success and save considerable money by following the advice on the Smart Legal Strategies webpage. The most important advice is don't rush out to hire an attorney. Even if a hearing is imminent, first determine if a lawyer is really needed. The reason for holding off on hiring an attorney is this. At the start of a case, you won't know what legal expertise you need. An applicant may need a number of permits and other approvals like those listed on the left. The more experience an attorney has with a permit, the more likely success. But until you know which permits are required and which is the most relevant to your concerns, you won't know what legal expertise you need. The hearing will be before a planning board, an administrative judge, or some other decision-making body. Frequently, their past decisions are available online. Look for decisions relevant to your case. These decisions will tell you if the decision maker has ever denied approval for a similar project or if they ever required use of your preferred solution. This information will be extremely important in structuring your case. The publication on the left is our analysis of emergency access gate decision-making history in one county. Our findings from this research won our clients a gate that prevented their dead-end street from being overwhelmed with traffic. To see how the research decision-making history, download the publication, which is posted at the red address here. If you need an attorney, then begin the search by contacting local or statewide groups. Ask which lawyers have the best reputation for representing citizens. In most states, there's a dozen or so lawyers who tend to specialize in representing citizens. But don't hire the first one who agrees to take your case. Instead, interview several until you find someone who proposes a plausible solution for winning your case at a cost you can afford. For further advice, see Chapter 40 in How to Win Land Development Issues. Or go to the Smart Legal Strategies webpage and click on Finding the Best Attorney. This brings the second part of the presentation to an end.